Welcome back, guys. Yeah, so as I kind of stated on my Twitter, this video will probably come out a little later, so probably on Friday, hopefully. Friday, just to get you in time for the Saturday and Sunday slate. While that means that I won't have the salary yet to kind of break down some of the things, I do want to apologize for that. Schedule has been a little bit crazy, but I'd like to thank the guys at 100 Talk Thieves to come on the show, talk a little bit about 100 Thieves. Uh, you know, they're on a good trend. Now, this portion of the segment, of course, as you all know, we are featured by the Game Haus, and I am talking about the DFS slate. This is the DFS portion, all things fantasy and daily fantasy related. Now, I know that I wanted to use each video to continue to talk a little bit more about than just the basics. I hope you are able to play some of the games and learn a little bit about it, but if you haven't, you know, go back to my basics video. I have them on my YouTube channel, which I don't know how long I'm going to keep that open now that YouTube has been making itself a really annoying part of just recording. It doesn't allow me to load certain stuff on there. But as long as the basics are up there, you can go check it out. But today I'd like to talk a little bit more about advanced strategy. Particularly one thing to note is that salary has really shifted a lot more now. DraftKings has caught up to some of the rostering, the pricing, and things such as that. And it's becoming a little bit more traditional in a sense that we're looking for points per dollar value at times. And some of the players don't line up. So the team may be a different salary tier than how the players are tiered. The mid position and the jungle position are tiered differently than the top position. And so you'll have a lot of variations that could be done. But as you can tell from the two-game slates, the two-game short slates in the LCK and LPTEL kind of slates, sometimes you will still have overlap. For slates such as the Academy or LCS or LEC, you won't have that issue because of the wider pool variety. You can play with one-offs. You just have to be a little bit creative out there for a takedown. But the overall idea still remains. You do want to have a two-team stack for most part. And you want to make sure that you get the best upside at each position to be filled. At one point, I think someone sort of asked me if it's okay to go with two teams. And I don't know if I covered this in a previous video, but it bears reminding you that I typically don't go that route. You can. That's not to say that you cannot. Particularly for the late slate, the late LEC slate, or the late LCS slate, you can go that route and even take down tournaments with that kind of roster development or roster construction. A lot of times I will dissuade you from doing so because the team slot, as I mentioned in the other videos, is that they have a capped upside. A great team, which happens very rarely, and it's very unpredictable of how long a game goes typically, or how many objectives a team can take. You want a team that has a lot of Baron control, but not finish a game as fast as being dominant, that they won't get a second or third Baron. Typically, if you get two Barons, that means the game has progressed further along, maybe in the 40 minutes, bordering the 40 minutes. Three Barons, that's a long time. Elder Drake, two Elder Drake, that's a long time. So it doesn't happen as often in the LEC, maybe much more in the LCS, particularly with a certain team style that plays for the late game than certain teams that are evenly matched with one another and they can't finish the nexus of their opponent. Games can go longer than that. So the upside we're looking at here is maybe 28 to 30 points for the team slot, which gives you about 45 in the captain slot, maybe at most. I would say that would be the top end. So that's one of those higher ceiling outlier type of scoring. But typically your team falls in the 20s. So whether you are the best favorite C9 team, you are floating in the 20 to 25 points, or you are a winner of an underdog team that also floats in maybe like the 21, 25 points. So what that means is your team slot is very beatable by someone else if you try to pay up for it and someone else pays down and still hit on a winner. So the points wise, the advantage is gone for you. So that is not a way I like to spend my salary. So if I can, I would typically pay down at the team slot, not rarely go for team captain is for that reason. Now, again, we're playing the odds. I'm not saying it won't happen again. It possibly I will be beaten by a team that has 2 captain slot. Typically on slates that I see that where I don't think any of the underdogs has a chance, or basically when I want to stack 2 favorites. So that's one thing to think about in terms of roster construction. The other thing to think about for roster construction is which teams do you want to stack. Now, I've given out some basic stack options. Which you do typically want to follow is your ADC or your bot laner with your support. Those are the 2 that goes hand in hand. Sometimes the support scores so much is because they rack up all the assists by being close in the proximity to the ADC and helping them, whether it's contributing to the hits, whether it's contributing to healing, whether it's contributing to shielding. Those count for your support. So if your support plays Yuumi a lot for this season specifically, and they are a winner, they win, you can expect Yuumi to rack up a whole lot of assist points, because Yuumi doesn't take a lot to rack up those points in terms of it being part of a team fight or being part of your bot laner, because she has to be close by someone. So look out for those. Those will help you to know that champion select, what are some of the tendencies. There's no way to predict how the draft works, but you can certainly play the odds, which is what we're doing here. The other thing is it's a mid jungler meta, if you haven't heard, and these are the things that I'll talk about in the next show about what it's a meta and what's a patch and all those things related. But what this means is a lot of the game is team style playing is dictated by how well the mid position and the jungler positions are working together, and it's a heavy focus. If you have a good control in the early game, that means teams are getting the early drakes, getting the early towers, getting the early advantage in map pushing. It's typically coming from your mid and jungler. So those are another stack that you want to consider. Jungler, it might be a good stack with team. Now, they're not directly points correlated in a sense, because a jungler can kill drakes, can kill barons, can destroy turrets, whatnot. They don't get points for those, but the team gets points for those. But if you have a strong jungler, typically it means in real life scenario that they have good control. They are part of ganking, or meaning they will help out other lanes and surprise enemy 2v versus 1 type of, create those type of advantageous scenario. But they also try to make sure to grab the dragon, make sure to call their teammates over to help set up a baron and just get those objectives. So that correlates with team scoring. So that is another stack to consider. Now, like I mentioned a lot, I would like for a 3-player stack in my builds typically, and that can mean mid because they score a lot, bottom or ADC, and support because ADC and support are correlated. Or you can go the top jungler mid. That is another possible stack. Top jungler is also a stack, not often heavily used, but it's something that you can think about if you want to differentiate yourself. And if you have to, maybe sometimes just the jungler and bot lane stack. That's very, very unique. Typically, you are buying in that this team is winning, and these 2 players are in control of the game, because team fights, it relies on the bot laners doing damages and relies on your jungler being a big contributor to creating advantages. The correlation is small, but it is definitely unique, and it's there. So these are some ideas for you to create stacks in your game. All right, so let's go into the weekend slate. Now, I won't be covering the Friday slate, so we'll start with Saturday. 11 a.m. LEC, this will be day 2. Naturally, because day 1 isn't played yet at this time of recording, you won't have the salary. So I can only go off by what the betting odds tells us and make a guess. Just looking at these odds that are posted right now, we can see that there is a large gap in between the G2 and the road game, so you can expect G2 as typically as warranted and as needed. They will be the most expensive. Now that means caps could be floating anywhere between the 8,800 or the 9,000 salary, and makes them really difficult to fit him and Wunder and Yankos all in one. But I always pay Mickey X if I do want an exposure to the caps to the G2 game. But you can expect them to be very expensive per usual. The other game is Fnatic XL. Now this could be interesting. Now it's a larger favorite. If I'm not mistaken, we will have them, Fnatic. The team will be more expensive than G2, but the players will be just under G2. You have your Buivo, Broxa, Nemesis, Reckless, Hylissang will all be cheaper than the G2 players. But they are viable. That means you'll get a little bit of discount for a game that should mean a strong stomping by Fnatic, who can have the similar ceiling as a G2, but you're not paying the G2 price for them. So they would be a great cash play for me over G2 in that sense. But if a stack does come about where people are able to afford G2, you can bet your bottom dollar that G2 will be the chalk, will be 50% owned or more, and your pivot could be Fnatic. So that gives you some ideas of how to think about working with pivots. Now, other games we're looking at, OG against Splice is another interesting one. I think I favor OG in this manner. I won't play this game per se, or I won't put too heavy emphasis unless I get a major discount on OG, which I don't think I will get a major discount on Origen. Particularly with the jungler and the team, those are the two slots that you might consider if you do want to go there. Like I mentioned, that's one of the that possibility out there. Origen does play for objectives, and that means late game, good for the team, good for the jungler. And then we have SK Vitality. Vitality is a strong favorite here, and I don't blame them. And this really predicates on how Vitality look in their game on Friday against XL. This game could be closer than what the odds are telling me, but right now SK is a good team that plays well. Inconsistent, but they are definitely look to be more solid team, and I'm thinking this is where I'm going to go for cash with Sakurai, Selfmade, Crown Shot. Those are the three I will prioritize for the SK team. Then Misfits, Schalke, I think, whereas the odds say that these two are heavily even team, I think Schalke will win. I just am confident in this. So expect them to be the cheapest favorite. So you have G2, Fnatic, Origen, and SK, and then Schalke. This is what I'm expecting, how they're priced. Schalke is really underrated. If I'm reading the DK algorithm correctly, very rarely do people stack Schalke unless it's a very evenly one-sided game, like if they go against Rogue or they go against XL. But Schalke is a team that seems to be able to put up points now. I like the new jungler. I like Trick. He will be part of the exposure I have if I do play the Schalke stack. Trick, maybe Abadage. He has regressed a little in terms of points output. And then you have the bot laners, Ignar and Upset. Those are the players that I will be focusing on if I do want my SK stack. Any upsets potential? Yes, I think Vitality is a potential for upset. I think Misfit could be, but I'm not sure. If Misfit's running the same roster as they did on Friday, I will not probably touch them. And then there's always a good opportunity for Spice to upset Origen because they are a good team. Good, not great. Yeah, you get the gist. Okay, so let's move over to LCS. We have some salary already put out there, and naturally you'll see C9 being the most expensive because they're going against 100 Thieves. Everyone will want C9 at this point. And I can't blame them. Your cash, you'll just find a way to stack your C9. 4-player stack would be my recommendation if you're going for the C9 route for cash. Now, is there another... My question then I would ask myself, is there another team with a matchup that could produce to similar numbers or maybe just a little bit different, a little bit less than C9 but gives you great value? So that will be the team I'm looking for in my tournament stack. I'm thinking Team Liquid here, but Unsure. Team Liquid doesn't need to necessarily put up points. Whereas C9 wins, it's hard to catch. It's like 30 points or so for each position or so. So on this day, I don't see why you would go away from C9 if you're playing cash. TSM Optics. I give Optics a chance to upset TSM. I don't think it'll happen, but it really depends if they're starting Acadian or Greg. I think they're just rolling with Greg from now on because it has resulted in a 2-0 from last week, and that's the success you want to chase, knowing the TSM group. So that's not a potential for upsets. C9 100, or I talked about. C9 will be your chalk, will be your cash, probably be your main stack even for your tournaments. CLG Fly Quest, this is interesting because I think I don't see a high potential for a high scoring game, but at the same time, if Fly Quest can upset, they give you that salary flexibility. And Counter Logic has been known to drop games against opponents they should beat and win games against opponents they shouldn't beat. Then we have Clutch Gaming and Echo Fox. These will be likely the close salary team, just like Clutch Gaming in top and Echo Fox in the bottom. Do I give Echo Fox every chance to win? Yes. It is close to a coin flip type of game, but I think you go with Clutch Gaming. And here I'll show you what not my cash stack, but this is what my GPP stack would look like if I want to go away from C9. I haven't experimented yet with Clutch Gaming with C9, but I doubt that I can get it two clean teams together. But I have a lot of Clutch Gaming here. I like Cody-san, I like Demonte, I like Lyra for the Clutch Gaming. Maybe Huni is more popular, but I think I'd rather go towards Lyra. Now, if Fox upsets, that could give you another salary relief to stack your Team Liquid, or you can stack your C9 with them. So I will slowly move in and fill out this cheat sheet for you before Saturday. Then we look into Sunday and we see some of the odds that break out. FlyQuest could be the chalk that everyone plays. Everyone wants to beat up 100 Thieves, but as we kind of talked about with our friends in 100 Thieves, this is a game that can potentially be another 100 Thieves win. And I really need to see how they look like on their first day. But I like the iteration of Amazing, Fake God, Ryu, Bang, and Afromu. And FlyQuest has just not looked like themselves. The other team you're probably looking into is C9 against Counter Logic Gaming. Again, I don't think CLG is a very good team. I think C9 is a great team, but C9 has shown the propensity to drop games. And if they do, even if they win, this might give CLG a good opportunity to put up DraftKings points. So this is a discount where you want to look at. Team Liquid against Clutch Gaming, it's an easy Team Liquid win. TSM against Golden Guardians. The odds say it's far apart. I think it's a little bit closer than that, but still favoring TSM. And then we have Optics against Echo Fox. If Optics is priced as the second most expensive team of the slate, I don't want to touch them. Third most expensive, there is conversation to be had. I really like the Optics roster. I really like the way Optics is playing. I'm looking towards Meteos. I'm looking towards Crown. I'm looking towards Arrow. Those are the players that I want from those teams. So hopefully this helps you think about roster construction, helps you think about this upcoming slate. Guys, I am in a slump, in all transparency. Been really rough in LCK and LPL, and was the last day of LCS was also rough on my bankroll as well. But I'm hoping to remain optimistic. I will continue to provide solid content. Follow us on the Game Haus at TGH, the Game Haus on Twitter. We love to hear from you. If you are watching this on Twitch, please leave some comments so I can it'll give me feedback on how to improve, what kind of questions you have for me to answer, ways for you to kind of bounce ideas off with me. Hit me up at primetime on Twitter. That's PRIM3_T1M3. And see you at the Rift, folks.